Hi everyone, this is Brian Hayes and welcome to episode 43 of the Music Mind podcast. My special guest today is a professional jazz clarinettist and saxophonist from New York City. Please enjoy my conversation with Ricky Alexander. Well, hi, Ricky, and welcome to the Music Mind podcast. Great to have you here today, all the way from New York City, as my special guest for episode 43 in the series.
Hey, Brian, thank you for having me.
Our audience have just seen and heard, it's a fantastic clip. It reminded me of the great Charlie Chaplin's silent movies, a clip that's produced promoting Promenade. And you're playing soprano sax on this one, which is really interesting because I guess you're known online. Would it be fair to say you're known more as a clarinet player than a sax player?
Well, actually, yeah, I was at a family gathering with my extended family recently, and they said, "Ricky, do you even play saxophone anymore?" But yeah, my saxophone is my first instrument, especially specifically alto, and I do feel most comfortable on it. Although I find that clarinet sets me apart in a world full of saxophone players. It's harder, I think, for a lot of people to play, and so I like to lean into it. But yeah, this song Promenade, I wrote this, and it just felt like a Sidney Bechet kind of vibe, and so I wanted to play soprano on it.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous sound on soprano. And Sidney Bechet, I suppose in history was the most famous of the jazz soprano players in the early era. Now you also play in your early jazz style with a quite era-based vibrato. Is that do you deliberately do that, or is that your standard vibrato, that faster sort of vibrato?
Yeah, I specifically like that sound on soprano saxophone. Soprano saxophone is the least forgiving of the saxophone family. I think as you go up, it's a little
Absolutely.
harder to play in
Mm.
tune. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I'm not saying that I use it as a crutch, but I think that it helps to flatter the instrument to use a lot of vibrato because you can kind of find your pitch center and let it sing. If you sit on a high note and it's a little flat, then that's kind of the worst case scenario. So I think it's nice to have a little bit of to warm up the sound a bit.
Congratulations on that. You've got your own character there. I also love the big, fat, wide sound you got on soprano. No offence to Kenny G, but I'm not a lover of the metal mouthpiece laser beam soprano sound. Is that something you consciously aim for, a nice big warm soprano sound?
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of that has to do with the technology of the instrument. I found that modern sopranos, starting with the Selmer in the 60s, has a little bit more of a flute-like character to it and a little bit more of a prettiness to it. If you go back in time, a lot of the cons and I have now I'm working on a 1926 Buescher like Sidney Bechet played, and it has the original metal resonators in it, and I love the sound of that. It's much fatter. It's actually, when I was picking out my instrument, I was picking out a modern soprano, and I found that they call it the intermediate saxophone. It's the Yanagasawa 901, and
Oh
I
yeah,
just found that
great.
that had it had the character that I wanted, even more than I think it was the 911, which is the more advanced, model. But yeah, so it's something that I was immediately drawn to.
They are fantastic sopranos. I've got a curved Yanagisawa, which is a more recent model. I don't know what the model is. I've had it for about 10 years. But my straight Yanagisawa, I don't think it has a model on it. It's the only Yanagisawa that my repair person has ever seen that doesn't have the auxiliary high F on it. It was,
Huh.
I don't know, but it's a beautiful soprano. I've had it for about 40 years. I love it. It just, there's something about the Yanagisawa, I think, that they've really nailed the sopranos. Now, I want to move on to a great clip you've got of East of the Sun. And in this clip, you're also singing Kayla Lewis, a great female vocalist. But I want to talk to you a little bit about one of the frustrations I find with musicians in general, younger musicians, is trying to get them to sing anything. I mean, on a wind instrument, you can hide behind the fact that, I can't sing and play at the same time. That's true. But some of the greatest, most successful wind instrument players in history, probably Louis Armstrong being a great example, he used his vocals to introduce his music way beyond what a trumpet-loving audience would do. So I was really pleased when I heard you sing this. Can you talk a little bit about what, for you, the importance of not being scared to sing, not saying you're the next Frank Sinatra, but giving it a go. Talk a bit about that, vocals for a wind instrumentalist.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I am not naturally a great stage presence. I don't love the limelight. I don't love putting myself out there, but I have realized that many people, it's like, for a large part of the population of music listening people, they almost sort of don't hear music unless there's vocals sometimes, and so, when you consider your audience and trying to incorporate them, I found I'm very comfortable singing in a duet format, and singing behind Kayla, it makes me really kind of project in a way that I might have trouble with on my own. But I have come around to the idea that I'm gonna have to sing sometimes. It's just gonna happen.
Let's have a look and a listen to you and Kayla and the group do a great version of East of the Sun.
East of the sun, west of the moon. We'll build a dream house of love, dear, near to the sun in the day, near to the moon at night. We'll live in a lovely way, dear, live in a love in pale moonlight, just you and I, forever and a day. Love will not die, we'll keep it that way. Up among the stars we'll find the harmony of life to a lovely tune, east of the sun and west of the moon, dear, east of the sun and west of the moon.
So, Ricky, I understand you've got a new album out, or a reasonably new album out, called Ragology. Can you tell us a bit about that project?
Yes. So I have been playing this regular gig with a quartet in Times Square at a little spot called the Rum House. It's one of the cool bars in Times Square, right between the M&M store and the Lego store. But so, you know, I've been playing with this amazing, you know, Grammy Award-winning pianist named Connell Fowkes. You might recognize him from being on screen in one of those Woody Allen movies, and playing with, you know, Woody's band touring the world, which is very cool. And Kevin Dorn, who played in the Riverwalk Jazz in San Antonio for a while, and Rob Adkins, who's a spectacular bass player, who you'd recognize from my previous 3 albums. But you know, we've been working up this repertoire, and we've been, you know, focusing on sometimes anything from 30s swing, even diving back into some Jelly Roll Morton stuff. And I really wanted to get Connell Fowkes specifically together with Jerron Paxton, who's just an incredible historic banjo and multi-instrumentalist player. He's got a family history tied down into Louisiana, but grew up in South Central LA. And hearing him he mostly plays a solo show. He travels the world doing blues, traditional music, all sorts of amazing stuff. And they're both just treasure troves of history. And so to get them together for this project, we did some ragtime, but we also kind of dived into some parallels to ragtime. For example, we've incorporated a choro song from Brazil, which is another mix of cultures growing up at the same time. We incorporated a couple Sidney Bechet songs. You know, Sidney was growing up in New Orleans and playing ragtime music and hearing it. And a lot of his compositions in the 50s are rooted in a very similar idea, kind of including the marches, Sousa marches and stuff like that into a jazz setting. Yes, we're listening to Buffalo Rag. That's something that Jerron hipped me to. And one more thing before I turn it back over that Jerron taught me is that a lot of these rags are actually written for banjo. They lay perfectly on the banjo. Okay. I always thought of it as piano music, but you know, it's really cool to get that side of the history. So,
well, let's have a listen to Buffalo Rag. I love is it the album cover? You're on the couch with the clarinet in the psychiatrist or whatever it is, the therapy room. And is that the piano player who's your therapist in that photo?
That's Connell Fowkes on the cover, psychoanalyzing me. That's right.
Great. And you've still got your clarinet with you. So let's have a look at it. Well, let's have a listen to Buffalo Rag. get the music bug? What was your first attraction to music?
Yeah, so I had a series of amazing teachers. I remember in seventh grade, Heather Borsam. She was so funny and made band class a real highlight of the day. She also led a jazz band, which was an extracurricular after school. And I was so excited, like, to practice for that audition. I remember this is in the middle of middle school. There was an eighth grader going for it, and I was a seventh grader, and I practiced so much. I just bugged her so much all day. Did I make it? Did I make it? Did I make it? And she said, Ricky, if you ask me one more time, I'm not gonna let you in the band. So I finally shut up.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, I had beaten out this eighth grader for the first chair spot, and I was so shocked. But also, it gave me this real, positive feedback loop of practicing all the time. I learned the blues scale. I'm finally having fun improvising.
Yes.
As soon as you learn how to make that leap, it opens up a whole world. So,
and what instrument was that on, Ricky? When you were bugging the teacher, what instrument?
Yeah, that was for alto sax, my first instrument.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so following that, I actually got to study with this amazing, really fun guy named Johnny Long. He played with Wilson Pickett. He played with Aretha Franklin, B.B. King, Four Tops, all of these bands. Really focused on soul and R&B. In fact, the first solo I ever transcribed was the Earth, Wind and Fire Greatest Hits Live Reasons, where Scott Mayo plays an incredible ballad, super beautiful. And so that was kind of weird, oddly my start, although I was listening. I got records. I was listening to Miles Davis. My grandma gave me Kind of Blue. I would be playing video games and I'd turn off the sound in the video game and put on Kind of Blue. And by the end of middle school, I could sing Cannonball Adderley's solos on everything. I could sing John Coltrane solos. I couldn't play them yet, but I just had heard them so many times. It was ingrained in me. And then finally, I got a year with this, with a legendary teacher from the DC area named Paul Carr, who finally explained to me all of the how to play chord changes, how to play bebop, and all that stuff. And it just came so naturally because I had been listening so much.
So that's through your school years. What about college or university? Did you take your music that next step, education-wise?
Yeah. I had some great teachers in college. I would say even extracurricularly, they didn't teach any traditional jazz or old school stuff. I had some teachers that were like amenable to it if you showed an interest, but for the most part, I actually landed in this band called the Capital with an O, Capital Jazz Band, Capital Focus Jazz Band, led by Dave Robinson, who for saxophone, people out there, they might recognize Scott Robinson, who is in the Maria Schneider Orchestra, a real mainstay of the New York scene. And so his brother leads this educational band focused on traditional jazz. And there's a number of excellent players today who are now really coming into their own who came through this band. I don't know, you might recognize the Anderson twins or Matt Musselman or anyway, there's a bunch of people who are now professionals who came through this scene.
Whether you're playing the soprano sax or you're singing with a female singer or you're doing all that great clarinet playing, it sounds to me like you're not putting on a show, that music actually means something to you. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I don't think I would strive in a situation like, for example, playing with Postmodern Jukebox. I think, there's a lot of great musicians that play with that band, and I love what they're doing, and it's cool. But I find myself kind of drawn to when I hear a 40s big band playing a ballad, it's just something heart-wrenching and beautiful about it. When I hear the Frank Trumbauer Orchestra with their mid-tempo strutting down the street and the beautiful arrangements and the crazy key change at the end, it's like there's something about that that's so well thought out and so beautiful that I want to try to recreate it. And I'm lucky, I got to give a shout out to a lot of the people that I play with today who, they play, every note that comes out of their horn is beautiful and perfect. And I think that I've learned from them to kind of have that level, to strive for that level of excellence. Mike Davis comes to mind. He's a real, I know we're peers, but his trumpet playing, I look at him as a hero of mine, even though we're contemporaries and bandmates.
I think in life you can almost pick from a mile away whether a musician is an academic musician or more of a natural ear musician. That's one question before we look at this. I did want to ask you, what are you thinking of when you are playing? Say in this case, it's only a trio, I think, bass, guitar and clarinet. What are you actually thinking of, if anything, when you're in the moment playing those beautiful melodies?
Yeah, I think you have a great point about, the academic world and the like high art and folk art. I think, jazz to me is really supposed to combine those two things. And you're not supposed to lose sight of either one. So I always, I love listening to, the blues, and I love listening to early jazz because it has that folk element to it. I would say another thing is that I have a soft spot for the melodic players. If you listen to Louis Armstrong, he's playing some incredible, complex stuff, but it all is melodic, and you can hear him, like to your point, you can hear him singing that stuff. So I would say that I'm trying to sing through the instrument, and I've digested all of the theory and all of the academic stuff, and now it's time to let it come out naturally rather than force it.
Well, congratulations on what you are achieving, because you are a little bit of a standout in the saxophone reed world with your melodic playing. Let's have a look and a listen to Petite Fleur. What's a typical playing sort of schedule for you? Are you doing a large percentage of your work in your early bird jazz era type band. Tell us a bit about what's life like there for you as a professional musician.
Yeah, I received some great advice right as I was moving to the city, and I've sort of followed it, but I I could follow it more. Kevin Dorn, the drummer on my album Ragology, I met him on the Jazz Fest at Sea, which is a traditional jazz focused festival on a cruise ship. Uh, uh, and I was playing with that Capital Focus Jazz Band as a young person getting into this music, and I was moving to the city in the coming months. And he said, if I had any advice for you, it would be to pick one player through history that you absolutely love and become the expert on that player. And people will call you for other things, but because they know you can do it, but you'll also establish your ethos in this scene, if you're really interested in traditional jazz. So I've been lucky I would say for 10 of my 12 years in the city, I played exclusively jazz gigs, which is rare. Lately, I've been sort of like, I got a little bit traumatized by doing this awful wedding band in college, and it was a little bit hard. But now I'm very fortunate to be able to play with. I just do one band that does extremely high end stuff that you'd have a hard time turning it down, but just financially. But but I am able to turn it down when I need to. It has flexibility, so I would say now it's 90% of my gigs are jazz, and I don't mind doing a little bit of professional sideman work for other genres, especially now that I've started my career. For these first 10 years, I was a sideman playing jazz, and that was very fun. But now I've been really focusing on trying to book more of my own things. So, I had my album come out in February, and I lined up a little mini tour in Texas, and then I took it regionally around the East Coast. And, I'll be able to sell albums every week, lining up. I try to have a couple of gigs per week. A couple gigs per month of doing my thing. And then I really love the variety of playing with other bands. It's a really great skill set. It keeps me fresh. It keeps me learning tunes. It introduces me to new players, and expands the network. So I really like having a balance.
It sounds like you found a nice balance. So when you said 90% of your work is jazz, is it stuck in that early jazz genre, or when you say jazz, are you doing different styles in jazz?
Yeah, so I would say that I'm doing many styles, but they're all between 1920 and 1950.
Okay.
If that makes sense, or maybe
It
into
does,
the 60s.
yeah.
So I'm playing some. My next show at Birdland is going to be a Stan Getz Centennial concert because I love his melodic playing, and
Absolutely, yeah.
I want to focus on some of that. So I do enjoy the variety, but I kind of weirdly have a cutoff. I don't know. I think I like maybe acoustic bass or something. But I play, like tomorrow I'm playing at Lincoln Center with this manouche style gypsy jazz stuff. So I like doing that too. It's an exercise to play in sharp keys on clarinet. So
self-marketing, promoting yourself, like you're in one of the most modern cities in the world, but you're focusing on music that's bordering on 80, 90, 100 years back in history. How are you finding that audience? What are you doing to find that audience?
That's a great question. I think, it's almost as if, if one lived in New Orleans, there would be there's a built-in scene of infrastructure of tourism and gigs, that just because of the history of the city. And I think New York is similar in that way. People come and they want to see a jazz show. You want to go to Birdland, you want to go to the Blue Note, because of all the rich history. So in one sense, we have the cutting edge. We go to Smalls and stuff. But I think that there's a lot of respect that might surprise people to hear, because I was skeptical at first, but there's a lot of respect between traditional jazz players and modern jazz players for the most part.
Okay, yeah.
And so, I gotta say, like, so in terms of marketing, it is a lot of work and a lot of emails. And you kind of have to figure out little circuits and build on them, is what I'm finding. So, if you can find an anchor gig, if somebody wants to hire you to play their 50th birthday somewhere, then you can build a couple clubs along with that. Or, traveling with a trio is possible. Bigger bands, that's sort of on the next level. You got to get a booker, I think, and do a whole with an agent. I'm not really so sure about that world. But I think with a trio, you can really do it. And I got to say, like, when I recently just did my San Antonio thing, we played Monks, which is a club in Austin, Texas. And, like, the audience maybe didn't know exactly what to expect, but they did pack the house. And like, I got so much great feedback. People are just like almost relieved when it's not a weird modern jazz thing. I think they're like, they just loved it. It's heartwarming, and it's very encouraging, and it makes me want to do more of it. So,
I hope you do, because it is a breath of fresh air. What about the age of the audience that you find you're playing to? Is it across the board, or is it more of an older audience?
Well, I'll tell you, it really does run the gamut. There's a jam session run by another clarinet hero of mine and also peer, Dennis Lichtman. This spot is called Mona's. It's every Tuesday night. It used to start at 10 or 11. Now it starts at 9. It still will go until 3 in the morning sometimes on a Tuesday night. Yeah. Everybody comes after their gig and jams, and the place is just packed with 22-year-old NYU kids who can't get enough. Yeah. So, and then on the other hand, I'll play gigs at literal old folks' homes, or maybe a jazz society who's had the same members for 50 years. And they appreciate it just as much too. And they have a lot of knowledge about it, so it can be really fulfilling to play with them, or I can learn from them sometimes. So it just totally runs the gamut. But a lot of young people are interested. I think they're happy to get off their phones and to see a show. And it's very encouraging. There might be a future.
The music you're playing is that old that it's new. Everything old is new again. I think if I was a 22-year-old kid, what's that? What's that music he's playing? There'd be something about it. It's not. Yeah. It's not Taylor Swift, and it's not John Coltrane. I want to move on. There's a fantastic studio video clip you've got of you and the guys and girls recording Fine and Dandy, another period piece, but this is a real modern clip, great musicianship. And what I really like, you take a hot clarinet solo here, but it's fantastic, and everyone is great it's a beautiful recording. You've got some great players, and you get to see a bit of the life in the studio, the laughs and the talking and all that. When you're dealing, in this case, you're not singing, you've got a great singer, but I think it's Vanessa Gould, beautiful singer.
Yeah, Venetia, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Venetia, is it? Yeah, wonderful singer. Yeah. What's your approach? Because a lot of wind instrument players and guitar players are notorious at it, but they haven't quite worked out how to interact with a vocalist. I think it's the most misunderstood thing in music, because it's not the time to show the world your chops when a singer is trying to tell their story. Can you talk about how do you approach your approach of interacting with a vocalist?
Yeah, that is a tough one. It's something, it's interesting. If you listen to Teddy Wilson and Billie Holiday, Teddy Wilson is playing a lot, but it doesn't seem to get in the way somehow. So I think that there is kind of a way to just add, it's almost like you're adding a texture. You don't want to do anything. You can play a lot, but you don't want to do anything distracting. You want to just be adding this layer. Think about it like that. Another thing is generally picking, this is something that I learned from a great clarinet mind. His name is Dan Levinson. He loves to sit at home and come up with harmony lines to vocal parts. So if you have a vocalist who's going to sing the true melody, imagine coming up with a part that perfectly has a great counterpoint,
Yeah.
focuses on consonant sounds, thirds and sixths and occasional tensions that way. Like doing that as an exercise can really help you pick the right guide tones through the thing. So, if I'm thinking of Fine and Dandy, it's like it starts on the fifth, da da da. So I might go 3 down to flat 3.
Yes.
It's just like thinking basic counterpoint like that, and coming up with things that work in various chord progression circumstances.
Well, this video, I think, embodies everything we've talked about. Great musicianship. I mean, you let fly. You're not playing Mary Had a Little Lamb on your clarinet solo. It's the right style of clarinet playing. But everyone in the band is doing what you just said, listening to each other. There's no look at me, look at me. I think it's wonderful. Let's have a look and a listen to Fine and Dandy.
Gee, it's all fine and dandy, sugar candy when I've got you. Then I only see the sunny side. Even trouble has its funny side. When you're gone, my sugar candy, I get so lonesome, I get so blue. But when you're handy, it's fine and dandy. But when you're gone, what can I do? Gee, it's all fine and dandy, my sugar candy. When I've got you, then I only see the sunny side. Even trouble has its funny side. When you're gone, my sugar candy, I get so lonesome, I get blue. When you're handy, it's fine and dandy. But when you're gone, what can I do? Said, gee, it's all fine and dandy, sugar candy when I've got you. Then I only see the sunny side. Even trouble has its funny side. When you're gone, my sugar candy, I get so lonesome, I get so blue. But when you're handy, it's fine and dandy. But when you're gone, yes, when you're gone, oh, when you're gone, what can I do?
Ricky, I notice the company Turtle Records is named in a lot of your clips and on a lot of the music that you're producing. Tell us a bit about Turtle Records.
Yeah, it's Turtle Bay Records. Turtle Bay is a neighborhood in Midtown Manhattan where the founder lives. this guy Scott Asen, you can see him on the cover of the Syncopated Times. I don't know if you ever read that, but he just was on the latest issue for his work. He started this record company during the pandemic in, I think, the first year, and he has a family history. He plays piano, but he has a family history in the business. His mom and dad were both on vaudeville. His mom was a singer. His dad was a reed player. He tells this, story about how his dad used to go out for the week playing gigs, and he would come home with a new record, and he and his mom and his dad would sit around and just listen to the record. And it's one of his fundamental great experiences, the power of this music. So from a young age, he really loved it. He sort of found the New York scene and got to know everybody, and decided that he wanted to sort of promote this kind of music. So, he's taken on this project and helped us record and come up with ideas and put them out on CDs and vinyl. And you should check them out at, I think it's turtlebayrecords.com, but you should just Google search Turtle Bay Records.
Yeah, and I noticed they were a big part, I think, of the Promenade clip too, were they? Producing that video?
Yes.
That is a high-class video. It really impressed me. When I first saw that, I thought, hello, we've got a period jazzer with an MTV quality video clip. Congratulations on that, and congratulations on Turtle Bay Records in all they are doing. It reminds me a bit of Concord Jazz over here in Australia. If I went back 50 years ago, I've still got it somewhere in my collection. I have got Scott Hamilton's very first album on Concord Jazz. Now, he's a guy that, a bit like we were talking about before, do you zero in and hone in? Like, that person gave you that great advice. Find a player, find a type, and really hone in. On that, I've got that record somewhere. It's got to be more than 50 years old. And if you look on YouTube, Scott's still playing. He's playing the same sax, the same mouthpiece, the same style and the same tunes, and killing it. He's a guy that he hasn't found a need to, like Miles Davis, I guess, was a person who felt the need to keep progressing, to change styles, to pivot. And what a great thing Miles did for the world. What's your thoughts on someone like Scott Hamilton, who's tenor sax and, the same swing jazz? I assume you'd be a fan of Scott's playing.
Oh, Scott has been since day one, he's been a hero of mine. I absolutely love his playing. I have a record of him with Harry Allen, and I just that I think they're my two favorite living tenor players. They just have they're so swinging, and just say, it's kind of this distinct, it's called mainstream swing is the name for it, where it's a lot of eighth notes. It's sort of this mix of bop, swing, and trad that emerged, I think, it's kind of 70s and 80s, maybe the beginnings of it. But love Scott, and I love his sound. And it's cool to see, him and Harry have, even though they're so stylistically similar, they have such distinct voices, and you can always tell who's who. And that's something I respect so much, is that Scott has developed his sound and stuck with it and refined it over time. He knows who he is, He knows who he is, and I think we're both huge fans of Scott. Let's talk a little bit about gear. Now, you've mentioned your straight soprano is a Yanagisawa, and I know your clarinet just from emails. I think when I was 17, I paid about the equivalent of what was a second-hand car, a good second-hand car at the time, to get a Selma Paris S10 clarinet. And the guy at the music shop said, because I only just started, left school, Brian, are you sure about this? He almost tried to talk me out of it, because I think he was concerned at the time that was a hell of an investment for someone. At that time, I'd never played a note on clarinet. I was playing alto sax and thought, I've got to learn how to double. And I've still got that clarinet to this day, and I know you're playing that. Are you still playing the original Selma mouthpiece, or what mouthpiece do you play on that Selma? Yeah. So something that was a little bit interesting when I'm trying to formulate my clarinet sound. So many of my heroes played an Albert system clarinet, which has a noticeably fatter bottom sound. It's a New Orleans kind of thing. it's so in order to approximate that without going through the trouble of learning a whole new instrument, I play on a Van Doren B45 with a lyre cymbal. It's the most open,
Okay.
mainstream mouthpiece without getting into Balkan music and something that's
Yeah,
really,
yeah,
really
yeah.
big. But
Yep.
it's got it's pretty large, and also the bore of the Selmer series 10 is also slightly larger, I think. So
Yes.
it kind of helps to get this Chalumeau register that can really get a little rasp on it.
You said you started on alto. You're still an alto player, are you? Or
Yeah, I play a lot of alto, and I still actually would consider myself to be most proficient on
on
alto
alto?
sax.
And what
Yeah,
horn is that? What horn is your
yeah.
alto?
I'm not so much of a gear guy. I've been playing the same alto that my grandma helped me buy when I was in middle school. My first professional
Yes.
horn.
Yeah.
It's a Selmer Series 3, and it's silver, and it just has a nice weight to it. I find that I really like the horns that are heavier. It's just unfortunate for me on the subway, but there's something about like the metal in a the only horn that I actually kind of shied away from after 15 or 20 years of playing it was this Selmer Reference 54. I feel like it was a little bit light. The metal seemed malleable,
Mm,
and
mm.
I think I was drawn to it because I thought it looked cool when I was in high school, but
Yep.
didn't end up having the exact sound. So now I play a sort of like 1967, a little past the sweet spot, but I like it. It's a Mark 6, and
Okay.
it's
Yep.
heavy and rigid metal. I don't know.
Yes.
They were melting down tanks to make this stuff.
Well, there
after
there
World War
was.
II.
They were using World War II ammunition metal or something. It's interesting. You and me are similar there. Behind me there, I've got the Selmer Mark 7 alto and tenor that I bought new in 1978. They're the only horns I've ever played. I love them. They weigh a ton. They're from that era of Selmer where, just after the Mark 6. And I love them. I've never wanted to change from them. The baritone behind me here is a 1950 Buscher. Now that weighs a ton, but but when you play it, it almost plays itself. Apart from the weight, I've got to use a harness. I'm not a big guy, but I'm so with you on that. All of my horns are the old school heavy metal. You pick them up and you think, hello.
Also, the intonation on some of the old ones. I actually did switch from my Yanagasawa to this 1926 Buscher, which for my soprano,
Yeah.
which it's you got to really kind of work that thing.
You got to work your tuning. That's true. Yeah. But I think that's part of the character.
Something I need to experiment next with is finding if you get an authentic period mouthpiece. I think that helps with the intonation because that was sort of what it was designed for. I think if you get a mouthpiece from 50 or 70 years later, there's something about it that just doesn't quite always work. So
True.
I'm excited to kind of dive into that as well. Yeah.
So just to close that conversation out, what's your recommendation? Because gear can be an unholy rabbit hole. There are some players who spend thousands of dollars and spend more time checking gear out than actually playing. What's your advice to someone who is looking for a good horn that matches them? Do you have any sort of tips as to how you could recommend they go about the whole combination, the whole, box and dice?
Yeah, I would say put in more work than I do, but don't count on it as a crutch. I haven't tried. I would love to. My next thing is to get a more period alto, just because it does have a much kind of warmer, softer sound. That if you hear a section, Fletcher Henderson orchestra, just having the right horn sound can really help that feel right. But I've been playing the same alto forever. I would say it's good to do some due diligence. And when you have the opportunity to try somebody's horn, when you're out at a jam session, take that opportunity, understand what it's like. But I think don't obsess over the details. Make sure that your horn plays in tune. Yeah, I don't know. You got to find a middle ground. If it's fun for you, go all in and try whatever you can and trade and buy. I have friends that do that with guitars, especially, that, those guys are obsessed and they're constantly juggling an L5 that they buy for $10,000, tweak it, try to sell it, buy a different one.
That's right.
If you have
If it
fun with
works,
that, go ahead.
I agree with you. Horses for courses. We're coming down the home straight here. An interesting thing is for musicians, I think jazz musicians too, is reading music. How important do you think it is for a younger musician to become a good reader of music, even though they're right into improvisation as their thing as a jazzer? What's your thoughts on reading music?
Yes, that is a very valuable skill. I sometimes will go entire months without reading music, because of the nature of my gigs. They'll call a song. I oftentimes will go home after the gig and look up the original sheet music to just make sure about the melody at the end of the A section, whatever, just to like brush that stuff up. But it's such an important skill to be able to just show up to a big band and sight read everything perfectly. It's because some of these bands that I'm lucky to play in, if you mess up 2 or 3 times in the course of the gig, you'll be the highest number of mess ups.
Yeah.
So
right. And you're probably on the shove list potentially too. The great Vince DiMartino, a wonderful trumpet player and educator, I heard a podcast just this week, and he said something that really stuck in my mind. He said, make sure that you learn to read sound, not read music. And he went on to explain what he meant, which is what I've always thought. It's no good seeing, a third space C and seeing it as a C and not hearing what that bit of paper wants you to create. I thought it was wonderful. And he just put it so simply: learn to read sound off the paper. Not
absolutely.
Isn't that a wonderful thing? I thought that was fantastic.
It goes along with, I think, maybe a similar idea is that you need to have an intuition with this stuff. You need to be able to read shapes that are happening, not individual notes. There's, for example, I'm one of these incredible bands that I get to play with sometimes is called Vince Giordano and the Nighthawks. They are famous for doing a bunch of soundtracks. They've done Boardwalk Empire. They did this movie. They do Scorsese movies, all sorts of fun stuff. And they won a Grammy for their Boardwalk Empire soundtrack. Actually, it was very cool. So they, Vince has been running this band for 50 years. He loves to count stuff off comically fast. 1, 2, 1, 2, and it's like this. And so you have to be able to read. You have to be able to, and also, some of these charts are crumpled yellow, just like he has tens of thousands of charts that he cycles through. Some of them are original, some of them are becoming Sibelius-ified, which is amazing. Okay. But oftentimes you'll be missing the last couple bars because they're just crumpled to oblivion. So and also there's certain tricks, like it's like a certain part of old music is kind of playing, they're playing at a time when the dancers, they know all of these rhythms, they know what to expect. So they're trying to, it's kind of a bebop way to do it. But like, even before that, they're messing with the dancers sometimes and doing rhythms that are distinctly wrong on purpose. So like one great example, you got to know just to be on high alert. But like at the end of one of these, they do a cha-cha-cha ending, but instead of that, they go, and it's like,
that's going to catch out. It's going to catch everyone out. Yeah.
New in the band. Yeah. But you know what? You have to be on high alert, especially endings. You got to turn your brain on. It's almost like you're it's almost like you're playing a tennis match and it's match point. You have to be all in at certain moments, Yeah.
Ricky, this has been such a great chat. You are an inspiration, I think, because you're still a young guy. You're playing older music with your own fresh take on it, and you're introducing that music to a whole wave of new audiences. I think it's a wonderful way to spend a life, what you're doing, and I congratulate you very much on it. We're going to go out with your version of It Had to Be You, again featuring Kayla Lewis. So this is, supporting a vocalist. But before we do that, is there anything you'd like to leave our audience with? Anything, your dreams for, the next 5 years? Where do you want to take your music? Is there a dream, or is it live life day by day?
Well, first of all, Brian, I'll say thank you for both having me and those really kind words, especially calling me young. I don't think that's comparative. I would say I'm actually finding, as I enter, middle age, I'm 37 now. I'm finding like that there is a difference between me and the young people.
Yeah.
And to your point, it's so like, I think for a while I was kind of just floating through, doing the day by day, enjoying my gigs. But now, as it becomes apparent to me that I'm making an impact on young people, against all odds, and but like I'm seeing it happen, and it's just like, it is kind of giving me a little bit more purpose and drive. And I am excited for the next recording project. I'm excited, just to go out to the jam sessions and hang with the older generation and the younger generation, and carry on the flame, carry the torch.
Fantastic. Just for your info, I'm just about turning 65, so take it from me, 37's young.
Okay. I'll believe that. I got 20 more years to be young.
That's right. Look, the other thing I love in your videos is you take the time to dress well. It's something that, even when I go and see bands live, there's a time to turn up in the shorts and the t-shirt and the running joggers, but I don't really think the bandstand is the best place for that, unless you're playing a type of music that's cool. But you and your colleagues dress appropriately on all of those clips, and it makes a difference. We often form opinions by what we see before we hear something. So congratulations on that too. One final question, your best piece of advice. There's someone younger than you, someone in their late or in their teens, early 20s. They like what you're doing. They may not be into your music, but they like that you're, establishing your own path. You are setting some guideposts that differentiate you from the normal run-of-the-mill. What's your best piece of advice for someone who would like to do a Ricky Alexander, find an audience in a specific music? Tell us, just close with that.
Yes, I think when you find the thing that you want to do, you'll know it. You'll find it's, and it's not like you'll just intellectually know it, but you'll know it because you start doing it all the time, right? So like watch yourself, see what you're drawn to, and then as you go, I think you want to you don't necessarily have to do what everyone else does. You don't have to go to jazz school, In fact, you might want to study something else and just follow this scene, of people. Find your peers, find your scene, because the more you interact with like-minded people in a community, the more you're going to be met with surprises that you couldn't even imagine. You're going to get an email one day to come play with the Hong Kong Ballet for their Gatsby show. You're going to get an email one day to play with Grammy Award-winning Vince Giordano, something like that. But it's going to be your version. And just, even if you are, for example, working a day gig to just sort of, supplement your income, you have to make time for the thing that you love. And if you do, you'll be rewarded.
Great advice. Wonderful advice. Thanks so much, Ricky, for taking the time to be part of this series. It's been fantastic speaking with you.
You too, Brian. Thank you so much.
For the collaboration video to end this episode, Ricky asked if we could do the 1928 jazz standard, If I Had You. This is a song that's been recorded by all of the jazz greats, including Benny Goodman, the king of swing. Ricky asked me if I would play lead clarinet, and he's supporting me on second clarinet and baritone saxophone.